guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Haley and each week I upload a brand new book video as well as the occasional lifestyle and beauty video. But in today's video, I am going to be reading 7 thrillers in 7 days. I have been doing a lot of book shopping recently and my TBR just keeps growing each day. I realized that I have a lot of thrillers, so I figured the best way to kind of get through some of those would to do this video. This video is inspired by Haley Pham, who has done this video with thrillers and romance. She has amazing book content. I absolutely love her channel, so I will link her down below. So throughout today's video, I am going to be reading a new book each day and giving you my thoughts and my review. And then at the very end of today's video, I'm going to do a ranking of all 7 books and which ones I recommend. Since we have a lot to get through in today's video, I'm just going to hop right in. Day number 1, I am gonna go with The Locked Door. One of my followers had actually sent me this book and it sounds really good. The reason that I chose this one for the first book this week is because it's a little bit of a shorter read. It's a little over 300 pages and getting a late start to the day. It's almost 2 p.m. so feel like I will definitely be able to breeze through this one. This book is about a little girl named Nora who finds out that her dad is a serial killer who has been murdering women in their basement while her little 11-year-old self is upstairs doing homework. So decades later, she's kind of created this sort of secluded life for herself. She is a surgeon, but she doesn't let anyone know who her father is. But it turns out that one of her female patients ends up murdered, and somebody knows who Nora is, somebody knows about her past, and they are trying to put this murder on her. So this sounds like a wild ride and I am so very excited. So I'm gonna get started on this one. So the story begins with the prologue, and right away it tells you that the father is being arrested. It briefly gives you a rundown of what he's being charged for and convicted of, but it doesn't give you any of the details until later on in the story. Throughout the story, there are 2 alternating timelines, the past and the present, and so the whole time you're seeing both of those stories unfold. It definitely keeps you on your toes. It's 4:05 right now and I just got to page 113, so I'm kind of flying through this. It's definitely a page turner. The way the story is written and how it's kind of unfolding right now, it's kind of hinting at Nora maybe having a darker past beyond her father's issues. Which, by the way, the father, the way that he's described and like his victim profile and everything, it's very reminiscent of like Ted Bundy. Anyway, I am on chapter 17 right now and it is getting really good, you guys. And the detective's last name is Barber, so relatives? Okay, I just finished the book and I can honestly say that I did not anticipate that ending whatsoever. There were so many times where I was certain I knew who did it. I was like, this is who it is. And then I kept changing my answer and not a single one was correct. This was definitely a suspenseful read, so it's pretty easy to fly through and I thought it was pretty interesting. Today is Tuesday. I've started my second book of the week and today I chose Not a Family Happy by Sherry Lapina. I chose Not a Happy Family. I'm about a third of the way into this book. I'm on chapter 18 right now and so far I really like it. It's one of those books that's about like the wealthy family that has all these hidden deep dark secrets, but on the outside they look picture perfect. When one day the 2 rich parents are found murdered in their home and all 3 of their children are deemed suspects. So right now I'm just at the very beginning of the investigation. The mom was alright, she was just a little bit spineless, but the dad was so horrible and vindictive, so all of the children are relieved in his passing. Honestly, each one of them has a motive, so it's hard right now for me to make a guess. I do have 2 people that I'm kind of eyeing. So we have another murder mystery and I am very stoked to see how this one pans out, so keep you guys updated. So in this book, although all 3 of the children are the main suspects as well as the housekeeper, it sounds like a game of Clue, they are kind of narrowing in on the one son. There's just so many things that keep adding up and kind of pointing to him. So of course, with these books, when they make something so obvious, I kind of just start to rule them out right away because it's too obvious. However, there is a second person that I kind of have some suspicions on. They haven't mentioned them much, but I feel like they're foreshadowing something dark surrounding them. So at this point, although I will not give you guys spoilers in this video, my suspicion is going to the other one who hasn't really been accounted for. I don't know, maybe we'll get a crazy plot twist. But I did just get to page 220 and a huge family secret has just been revealed, and I don't know what to think anymore. I don't know. A little more than 100 pages left, so I'm excited to see where this leads. Oh my gosh, you guys. Okay, so I just finished this book. My suspicions were incorrect. Yet again. This book was throwing me everywhere. I was literally like sitting there basically like with the red string and everything, trying to figure out who the heck did it. And the epilogue dropped a huge bombshell. This was another really great read. At some parts it dragged on a little bit just because they wanted to just keep throwing you off the trail. So not necessarily a bad thing. Most people aren't reading this in like a stretch of a few hours. But I was like, oh my gosh, just tell me who it is. I was going nuts. I really enjoyed this book. I thought the writing was great. I like that it kept kind of steering you in the wrong direction on purpose, manipulating you to think one way or the other. I mean, the storytelling is great. Like I said, I definitely did not anticipate that. I thought that this was a really great read. Good morning, you guys. I have a snuggly BFF by my side today. He is in such a little mood. He just wants to hang out. So here he is. Today is Wednesday and I decided to read One of Us is Dead by Geneva Rose. So far it is giving me Pretty Little Liars meets Real Housewives. It's really, really entertaining and like super over the top, dramatic, really bitchy. This book starts off in the present with one of the main characters being interviewed by a detective. Someone in the group has been murdered and they're trying to figure out who done it. But throughout the chapters, it goes through the past and kind of gives you a recap of what has gone down, what has led up to this tragedy. This book is about a group of women in Buckhead, a place of expensive cars, huge houses, and extremely competitive friendships. Okay, I'm about halfway through right now and things are starting to get a little crazy. For some reason, I can't help but imagine the characters as the Selling Sunset girls, especially Olivia. She, like, all I can picture when I'm reading her chapters is Christine Quinn. She's just so over the top and dramatic and a little insane. And especially with Karen, I just keep picturing Mary, a little bit more level-headed. And Crystal, she's like this more innocent Texan girl. She's really cute. I really like her so far, and the Karen character. But she totally reminds me of Chriselle. And it's not that these characters have like likeness in the way that they're described. Like Olivia has like this gorgeous long brunette hair, but all I picture when I'm reading her is like that platinum blonde high tight pony. I can't help it. That is what these girls are reminding me of. Obviously, you know, to an extreme because someone was murdered, so. And I know this writing style isn't everyone's cup of tea, but I love like this gossipy, girly, dramatic sort of narrative. I just eat it up. So right now I'm obsessed. I just finished this one. I have to say, I really love this sort of writing style. I love the drama. I will say that this one definitely took on like a darker twist towards the end that I did not anticipate coming. Honestly, it really caught me off guard, and like the whole time throughout this book you don't actually know who was murdered until the end, and I could not decide who it could be. I had my suspicions, but ultimately it could have been any one of these people because they were all a mess. I did, however, finally guess the killer correctly this time, and yeah, I think this was a great book. I feel like the ending was a little bit rushed. I would have liked a little bit more on that, but overall I thought it was great. It was definitely really entertaining and I really loved it. We finally made it to Thursday. Today's pick is Local Woman Missing, and this is a gripping story, you guys. I started it this morning. I'm on page 230 right now, so making good progress. But I have to tell you guys, this book is fantastic. As you may assume so, a local woman does go missing in this book. Her name is Shelby, and a few weeks later, another woman in the same neighborhood and her 6-year-old daughter also go missing. During the search for the second woman, they do find the body of Shelby. Time passes, and eventually they find Meredith as well, but no trace of Delilah. Fast forward 11 years, and Delilah shockingly makes a return. As you can imagine, the town has so many questions. The way this book starts off is with Delilah. You get a scene of the terrible conditions that she's been dealing with the past 11 years, which is unfathomable, and eventually what leads to her escape and how she did it. But throughout this book, you're going back and forth between 11 years prior and present day, and there are multiple point of view. The book starts off with Delilah's point of view in present day, but it also tells the story 11 years earlier from both her mother, Meredith, and their close friend and neighbor, Kate. But there's also another point of view of Delilah's brother, Meredith's son, in present day. Throughout the book, they are telling both the story leading up to Meredith's disappearance and ultimate murder, as well as her connection to the other missing and murdered woman, Shelby. So this has been an extremely interesting book so far. It's one that is so hard to put down, which is amazing because you know what, I have all day to read. I have about 150-ish pages left, so lots to get through, lots to unravel, and I will keep you guys updated on my thoughts. Holy shit, you guys, this was literally the most unexpected turn of events. I'm beside myself. I'm losing my mind. What the heck is happening? I finished it. I could not put this down. Throughout this book, there's a few stories that intertwine, and there's so many twists and turns. What ends up happening at the end, I never in a million years would have seen coming. The entire story is just so shocking and dark and heartbreaking, and I have to say that so far, this is my favorite book that I have read this week. It was absolutely fantastic. I would easily give this one 5 stars. It was so gripping and crazy and like ridiculous. The writing was so good that like once you see the story like fully unravel and kind of figure out what actually happened, you realize all of the foreshadowing that you may have missed in the previous chapters. This is one that you definitely need to read. We're on book number 5 today, and I chose On a Quiet Street by Serafina Nova Glass. I am on page 107 right now. It's kind of tough to explain exactly what's going on because I feel like nothing is truly happening. So straight from the back of the book, it says, the perfect neighborhood can be the perfect place to hide. When you really start to look beyond the airy open floor plans and marble counters, Brighton Hills is filled with secrets. Some big, some little, some deadly, and one by one, they're about to be revealed. So this is another one of those books with like a tight-knit, exclusive community full of nosy neighbors and a ton of crazy secrets. So this book starts off with the prologue, and it introduces a scene of a hit and run. As you start getting into the book, you realize it's one of the neighbor, Paige's son. Throughout this book, it has 3 point of views from 3 different neighbors. One is Paige. The second woman is Cora, and she's like a bubbly, sweet woman who thinks her husband is having an affair or multiple affairs. She has yet to catch him in the act. And the third woman is Georgia. She's newer to the neighborhood, and she suffers with agoraphobia, which if you guys are newer to my channel, that is something that I have struggled with like the past year and a half. Definitely different traumas and triggers between myself and Georgia though, but I thought it was really cool to read about that in this book and see her point of view and be able to relate to it so deeply because it's so hard for other people to understand. Anyways, not about me. Other than that, I don't think that I love this book yet. Like I said, I'm only 107 pages in. I have like 200 to go. Okay, it took a while, but it is finally getting a little juicy. Okay, just wrapped up with this book. It was actually a super quick read. It was just very easy, straightforward. I like this book. At the very beginning, I wasn't sure that I was going to. I especially had beef with Paige. But towards the end, as the story unfolded a little bit more, I found myself liking her a little bit more. But the end was definitely messy. It was twisty, turny, but still a little bit predictable. So all in all, I thought the book was fine. It's not my favorite from the week, but I thought it was interesting enough. It was really easy to get through. Hello again. Today is Saturday. The pick of the day is The Night She Went Missing by Kristen Bird. It's actually 5:30 at night already, and I have finish this book. Honestly, I totally forgot to charge my camera last night, so when I went to record this morning, it was dead. With today being Saturday, it's been kind of busy and chaotic, so while I had time to read, it just escaped me to even record like in the middle with my thoughts like I have been the rest of the week. So unfortunately, I do not have like a middle book update of my thoughts while reading. This kind of reminded me of like a mishmash of Not a Happy Family from earlier this week and yesterday's book, On a Quiet Street. This is another domestic suspense thriller, and it has a lot of hints of like the rich family, small town vibes. This one actually takes place in Galveston, Texas, so there's like a lot of Texas references in here, and I live in Texas, so I thought that was cool. They mentioned the Whataburger chicken mini, and I was like, all right. But this book definitely has a lot of similarities with the book that I read yesterday. It's written with 3 point of views of 3 of the mothers in this tight-knit community. And this book also starts off with the prologue of one of the mother's children, Emily. She's the missing girl, but it starts off with her essentially slipping into a coma. So it's very reminiscent of the same intro as yesterday, and then reading through the 3 lives of the different women. I felt like this book had a particularly slow start. It's split into 2 parts. So part 1 for me was pretty hard to get into. The missing girl in this book is the granddaughter of one of the most prominent figures in this town. And that family has been a huge part of this town for generations. They also own this prep school that the missing girl attends, and it just kind of wraps her up with a lot of the students that attend that school. And with all domestic thrillers, there's a lot of secrets, family secrets, lies, deception, big reputations to uphold. I actually enjoyed this book. It's again not a favorite of mine. I think just because it was so similar to yesterday's book that I already wasn't a huge fan of, but the storyline was just extremely predictable. There were a few twists and turns in there, of course, but in the end, I had already figured out what the heck was going on. I did find the ending a little bit disappointing though. It was a little lackluster, a little rushed. So this is another one from the week that was just okay. I enjoyed it, but it's not one that I would like rant and rave about or suggest to friends. It was just okay. Today is Sunday, which means this is the last book of the week, and I would be lying if I told you that I was not exhausted. But my last pick of the week, I have been really excited to start. So this is A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. I am currently not quite halfway through yet. I'm on page 170. So far, this one's kind of giving me deja vu from The Locked Door. It's the same sort of storyline about a serial killer's daughter. The daughter is 12 when she finds out her father is a serial killer. And then flash forward to 20 years later, after he is prosecuted, it's like the 20th anniversary. Girls start going missing again, and it's the same victim profile, same sort of like identifier. Her father, as a serial killer, took a lot of trophies, specifically jewelry. And now, 20 years later, with these missing girls, they are all killed in the same sort of way, and they're all missing pieces of jewelry. Eerily similar to The Locked Door. The daughter, 20 years later, is a psychologist, and one of her patients has just gone missing at the part that I'm at. So far in the story, the daughter is not named a suspect or anything, but I feel like that's kind of where it's going. There's weird coincidences surrounding her and the missing girls, and I feel like the cops are going to kind of eyeball her. I also feel like I have a really good idea of who is at fault for these new missing girls. I feel like it's almost a little too obvious, which makes me a little uncertain if I'm correct or not, because like I said earlier this week, normally when it's a little obvious, it's just the writers kind of throwing you for a loop. I have my suspicions, and so far, this book is really good. I just finished it, and of course, again, I was so off base with this one. It was so good. The plot twist at the end caught me completely off guard. Also, I had completely fallen in love with the writing of this story. It draws you in immediately. It's beautifully written. The story is great. And I just realized that this is a debut. So I'm extremely impressed with Stacey Willingham and this being her first book, and I am really excited. It says that she's currently working on her second one, and I can't wait to read this because this was absolutely amazing. Now that I've finished all 7 of the books, I really want to give you guys like a ranking of which ones were my favorite from the week, and I actually want to give A Flicker in the Dark my top 1 spot for the week. I just love the writing of this one. I love the story. The plot twist was crazy. And if someone were to ask me right now, like, hey, I'm looking for a new thriller to read, do you have any suggestions? It would definitely be this one. Coming in at number 2, Local Woman Missing. This is another one that I really enjoyed. It was twisty and turny and just so much happening. Just a completely addictive read. Number 3, I would say Not a Happy Family. Honestly, I'm just a big fan of like the wealthy family murder plotline with the kids as suspects just to get their inheritance quicker. I'm just always so infatuated with those stories, and this one was crazy. Again, a twist that I never saw coming. Number 4 being One of Us is Dead, and don't get me wrong, I loved this book. I almost put it at number 3 above Not a Happy Family. The reason that I didn't is because it's not like a true thriller, I guess. Like, it's very funny, it's a little bit lighthearted. This one was super entertaining. I loved the overdramatic characters, the gossipy vibes. This is definitely a really fun one. Number 5 being The Locked Door, and I love this one as well. This week of books, they were all really great. So it's not to say that this is 5 because it was bad or anything, but out of the 2 serial killer daughters books, like if you had to read one or the other, I preferred A Flicker in the Dark. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts if you have read both of them. For me, it kind of came down to the writing styles and the twists, and I kind of just favored this one. The last 2 books I have are The Night She Went Missing and On a Quiet Street, and honestly, it was a little bit hard for me to put these like one over the other because they are so similar. But if I absolutely had to, I think that I would choose On a Quiet Street over this one by just a hair. I felt like the story was a little bit more interesting, but I also just really prefer the characters in this one. So that leaves this one to number 7. And again, this was still a great book. I really still enjoyed reading this one. But out of all the others, this one was bottom tier, not my fave. So those are my thoughts about these 7 books that I read this week. Honestly, you can't really go wrong with any of them. They were all pretty amazing reads, some just better than others. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and let me know if you guys would like to see a similar version, maybe a different genre of this sort of style of video. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I will see you again soon. Bye!